What's the Sunni?
Or hypocrisy. You know what they call them? There are a lot of chapters there are a lot of references in the Quran to the hypocrites. Now, a hypocrite in our society, we know what it means. You're a smart guy. In the Islamic tradition, a hypocrite is somebody that doesn't follow the traditions, the letter and verse of the Quran. And a lot of hypocrites get killed and beheaded. So if you try to reform Islam, that's the sentence is death. So there never has been.
Hold on. There's the
Sunnis.
never been. Hold on. There's the Sunni and there are the Shia.
Yeah.
So I assume somebody tried to...
No, that's not a reformation. The difference between a Sunni and a Shia is that when Muhammad died, he didn't leave a clear successor. And so
all right, okay.
One people feel that one branch of his family, they broke into factions on which branch to follow, which successor to follow, who claimed succession. And then those different people moved to different areas so they could fight one another, which is what they've been doing. But there's more. The reason that we know that it's different from a simple reform of a kosher law or something you can eat or not eat is that all over the world, there's only one place in the world where a Christian country is fighting another Christian country, and that's the Crimea, Ukraine. That's with Russia invading her neighbors. The rest of the wars all over the rest of the world, from the Philippines in the east through there is a war in Southeast Asia. I mean, there was up until recently. Pakistan-India border, the Balkans. We fought on the side of the Muslims in the Balkans. Cyprus was at war recently, up until like 30, 40 years ago. Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, all the way up to the war against Israel. So all the way across the country, that's because Muslims are following their tradition, which is to oppose the unbeliever, fight the unbeliever.
But
wait, there's
hold
more.
on. Yeah, but there's always more.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me ask this, though.
All right.
Isn't some of the shit that goes on in the Mideast due to bad colonial policies?
Oh, God. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What, I stepped in some trap?
You are such a liberal. I was afraid you were going sane. Thank you for bringing that up. There have been no colonial policies affecting the Middle East for maybe 100 years, or 70 years.
Yeah, 100 years, 70 years, but they set up shitty borders. That doesn't. You're going to say that has nothing to do with any of that?
No, why would it?
Because.
So they set up shitty borders. I mean, the main wars are between Sunni and Shia, which is a Muslim internal problem. The war against Lebanon, which was a Christian country that has become Muslim by invasion from Muslims, the PLO, remember those guys?
Yes.
And the war against the Jews in Israel. But if you want to go further, there's the war where the Muslim Brotherhood tries to take over Egypt, and the war where the PLO tried to take over Jordan. Those had nothing to do with colonial powers. Moreover, there's a war in Yemen right now because the Iranians are backing one side. They're trying to take over Yemen.
Right, do me this favor. You're much better informed than I am about this stuff. But it still feels like you're, to some extent, dealing with information that's been cherry-picked to support the very worst point of view about Islam. Make a good argument for me. Pretend we're playing golf, and my handicap is I don't, you know.
There has never been a situation more black and white. I'll tell you why. All over the world, okay, it's important to back this up with an explanation. Islam was quiescent. After World War I, Islam was at its lowest point. The Ottoman Empire was broken up. and Islam laid low. But now, as I said earlier, they have, they're nuclear armed in Pakistan. They're trying to get the bomb in Iran. They've got more money than practically anybody. They have the ability to change public opinion. It's already worked on you, by the way, and you don't know it, by buying off papers and putting money into universities all over the world. They're building mosques all over the world. Wait, and that's why they're resurgent. See, the violence we're seeing now all over the world, bombings, wars, you know, an arms race going on in the Middle East, all these things are happening because Islam is getting more powerful. This is what happens when Islam gets power. The
Well, the
world goes under their threat.
Let me ask you this. You got 1.3 maybe Muslims.
Maybe
1.3 billion.
Maybe 1.7.
I don't know. That seems like... I thought Catholicism was still the biggest religion.
I believe it. I believe it is. But anyway, go on. So why are they not all fighting?
No. I'm like, what is somebody who grows up in a Muslim country supposed to do?
Well,
now, hold on. The Muslim religion, you're saying, is based on a doctrine that's about 1,400 years old.
Yeah.
And the world has moved forward technologically since the year 600 and something, when Islam was started. And there are many fruits of the time. The world's a nicer place than in AD 600. There's more good stuff in it. So what is a person who grows up in a Muslim country, or a country that is largely Muslim, supposed to do to embrace, who wants to embrace the modern world and not be involved in some of the hinkier aspects of Islam?
Well, one of the good things that's happened is that Iran, the highest percentage of atheism in the history of Iran, is beginning to occur. Because people are realizing this is crazy and they don't want to go along with it. But if they so much as raise their head, it's going to get chopped off. So there's secret private atheism going on around the Muslim world. That's our only hope, by the way. If you want to know what the solution to all this is, I'm going to give you the secret, because there is a solution. The solution is that any time a Muslim country gets violent, it has to be crushed. It has to be crushed so badly that they realize Allah does not want them to do that. But while that's happening, we have to send in Radio Free America. We have to demoralize them so that they begin to give up Islam and become Christian or atheist. Anything to give up that religion. We have to gradually work on them until they give it up. And because 1,000 years from now, if there's still Muslims believing in the Quran, they'll still want to chop our heads off. That's not going to change. So we have to get them to lose interest in their religion. By the way, that's not impossible. Because the Russians...
Hold on. I'm going to agree with you on something. Wait, hold on. Also, let me apologize to everybody for getting my ass kicked yet again about Islam, because I don't know enough to argue effectively against you. So I've let down the liberal side. But I do believe there is a hollowing out of religion that's been going on for hundreds of years because of the fruits of technology. And I guess I would say, you know, it's probably been more of the technology has probably been more effective at hollowing out religion in, I don't know, in certain, you know, tech-heavy states, nations, that would maybe tend to be not Islamic. But I don't know. But I would think that Islam is being hollowed out too, the same way that you have plenty of people who are nominally Christian, nominally Jewish, nominally whatever religion you want, who effectively aren't that religious.
Okay, this is your argument. The guy next door to me that's an eye doctor who happens to be named Muhammad is not trying to kill me. Explain that, Lance.
I'm not saying explain that. I'm saying that there can't be 1.3 billion people who...
Well, that's what I was getting to. As they gain more power, more of them will join in the jihad. When you were living in the jungle somewhere in Indonesia, it wasn't going to be very fruitful for you to say, I want to go fight America 80 years ago. But today, there's places you can join up. They'll send you a ticket to fly out and fight with them. So it's true that there are a lot of Muslims that aren't joining in on the fight, but that doesn't mean that their religion has changed. It just means they haven't had the opportunity, or they're not being.
But people are people, and people like having nice lives. When you look at ISIS...
No, absolutely not.